Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today I'm taking a look at Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 for the PlayStation 5. This is a recent release on the PlayStation and it's fair to say this has been one of my most anticipated game, not just this year but for a number of years. This was originally due to release way back when Cyberpunk 2077 came out. It was due to release the same year, and then obviously there was a lot of controversy. A new studio took over, basically started from scratch, and we've had to wait a significant time before we got this version of the game, which is a different version that was originally intended. Originally, you were going to start as a low-ranking vampire, sort of thing, and whereas in this version you actually wake up like a vampire elder. You are called Fire, also known as the Nomad. You've been alive. You've been a vampire for centuries, but you have been in 100-year slumber. You are awakened. You notice that you've got this strange mark on your hand, and you've got a vampire in your head called Fabian, a detective, who is talking to you. So not only have you got to kind of navigate your way around a modern day Seattle, being a elder vampire, you've also got to kind of deal with this detective in your head with a whole mystery of a serial killer running around Seattle that is linked to all the clans, and he's also got to kind of deal with different vampire politics throughout the whole thing. Now, when the game starts, you get to choose between a male vampire, a female vampire. To be perfectly honest, they both look very similar. And then once you get kind of through the first chapter of the game, the first hour of the game, something like that, when you wake up, you are then able to kind of customize your vampire. Not massively so. You can't change the facial features too much. You can kind of change the hair, the eyes, that kind of stuff, and the facial features in the sense of how your vampire looks. Doesn't drastically change their facial features or anything. It just kind of subtly changes them. And then you're off to the races, really, with this character, Fire, navigating your way around modern-day Seattle. And I have to say, the game itself looks, I think, beautiful. It's a beautiful-looking game. To say this isn't a AAA release, really, Seattle in all its glory here looks absolutely fabulous. The snow and everything, it just feels very atmospheric because you are doing all of this kind of at night, obviously, because you're a vampire. I would comment, though, that even though this is at night, you know, the game feels very, very quiet. The streets are very quiet. There's people on the streets, but there's no traffic or anything like that. And even at this time of night, during the night, there would be some streams of traffic, sort of thing. So it doesn't feel alive, the world. There's quite a lot of similar-looking NPCs in the world. You'll feed on NPCs continuously, and they look the same as like someone else you fed on like half an hour ago. But I mean, it's still a nice looking game and a nice looking open world environment, and it is an open world game. However, it is not a huge world. It's like a few blocks in Seattle. But the advantage of that is you kind of get to know your way around, and you know some of the shortcuts in the environment to kind of get to rooftops quickly if you break the Masquerade. Now, for those of you who don't know about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, it's called the Masquerade because you have to basically keep up the masquerade. You cannot let the normal people in the world, the general public, see that you're a vampire. If you break the Masquerade, then you will be punished and killed. You have got to keep it all secret. And there are times in this game where you'll break the Masquerade. You can either do it on purpose or by accident. I did it 2 or 3 times by accident. But if you can kind of run to the rooftops and hide, you can there's like a meter at the top of the screen that will lower. It's almost like a wanted level, I suppose, in a lot of ways. But it's quite easy to kind of get that level to go down once you kind of figure out where the shortcuts are in the city to get to the rooftops quickly. And that's like jumping and climbing up like drain pipes and stuff. So it's quite a cool intro to the game. It's quite a good story. I'm quite enjoying it. The characters are fairly interesting, getting to know the politics of Seattle in regards to the vampire clans. And the voice acting, I think, is excellent for the most part here. So the production values, I think, are all on point. Now, I must say as well, guys, that I am not what you would describe as a Vampire the Masquerade's veteran. I never played the first game. I've always wanted to, but because I'm not a PC player, the only chance I ever really got to play it is when I had my Steam Deck, but it wouldn't work on that. So I'm hoping and praying that one day we get a remastered version of that. I would very much like to play it. So I've never played the first game, never played the tabletop. I've played a couple of the narrative games that you can get on PlayStation. And I played the other Vampire Masquerades game. I forget the name of it. It came out a couple of years ago that wasn't brilliant. But I just love vampire games and vampire movies, that kind of stuff. So I'm always on board with a vampire themed game. So I have been excited to play this. Now, when you start the game as well, there are a number of clans that you get to choose from. Now, there was some controversy early on with this before it was released because to unlock all the clans you had to kind of buy the full version with the season pass, and there was a lot of backlash about that, and they changed it. So all the clans now are available when you start the game, and the clans are, you've got a Bruja, which is like a rebellious melee-based vampire. That's the one I chose. There's a Tremere, which is like blood sorcery. You've got a Banu Hakim, which is kind of stealthy. You've got a Ventru, which are like aristocratic leaders. They're good at mental manipulation. You've got a La Sombra, which are like shadowy killers. And the Toreador, which are kind of seductive and artistic. They've all got... I mean, really, what you are choosing here is what combat style you want. Other than a few dialogue options that indicate what clan you choose, that kind of give you extra dialogue options, there's not a huge amount of difference in regards to which clan you choose. And I'll tell you why as well, because once you start the game, once you get into the game, you can actually unlock abilities from the other clans, and even their costumes and clothing sets. So it kind of doesn't really matter which one you choose, to be honest, because you can kind of mix and match anyway as the game progresses. I mean, I like the idea of the Brujas, but they dress terribly. So as soon as I was able, I kind of dressed my character a bit more classy. But I still enjoyed using the Brujas' abilities. So the dialogue choices here, I mean, it says that it's kind of your choices matter sort of thing. It's one of those games where it says your choices matter, but you never really feel like they do. You'll kind of make a choice that you think will really affect your relationship with a certain clan, and it doesn't seem to, not really. So I'm not exactly sure how impactful some of the choices you will make here in the game, but it is fully dialogue heavy. It's a very narrative heavy game, this. I don't mind that, I really don't. I enjoy the majority of the conversations. Sometimes in games like this you think, I'm bored of listening to this now, and you start skipping through dialogue. I very rarely did that here. I was enjoying the voice acting, and I was enjoying like the dialogue options here. The combat is superbly done. I think it's one of the strongest elements of the game. You like to say, you've got different combat options depending on the clan that you choose, and it feels really impactful. You feel very, very powerful as a vampire, and that is because you are starting the game as a veteran vampire. So you have You're already powerful at the start of the game. You just kind of need to unlock your abilities as the game goes on. And there are certain people on the map that you can go to. If you feed on certain people in the map, it'll kind of give you like these different blood points in certain areas, and you can go to these people on the map and unlock other abilities from other clans to kind of, increase your melee armory sort of thing. There's loads of different things you can do that will keep you entertained, probably not just a one playthrough but several, so that you can experiment with different vampire powers. It is really very good, I think, the combat, and I've had a really, really good time with it. It just feels right. You feel like a badass vampire, which is exactly what you want from a game like this. I've seen people complain that, there's a lot of wandering around back and forth, but as I've said, it's not a sizable map, this, and I never really found it to be much of a problem. I didn't mind it so much. I will be honest, I enjoyed sometimes wandering the map, just having a look round, because there's no fast travel option available, and I think that's just been kind of beaten into us by modern gaming, to expect a fast travel option. I don't think this game needs it, personally, because, like I said, the map isn't that big. Now, the whole Fabian detective in your head thing, I think, is possibly the only thing I didn't really particularly enjoy here. And what I mean by that is, I would have loved to have seen a Vampire the Masquerade game with Fabian as the main character, as a detective, doing like detecting, because I like detective games. But it just felt a bit tacked on here, because when Fire goes to sleep, then you kind of take over as Fabian, and you do some flashback type missions of him investigating this serial killer. But you don't have access to loads of powers. It just kind of feels like you've got to do this, go here, read this, talk to this person in order to finish that bit to kind of wake Fire up for the next evening, sort of thing. And I don't know, it just felt a bit tacked on to me, that part of the game. And it was, whenever I was in control of Fabian, it was my least favourite part of the game, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think they could probably have done better with that. So I mean, I'm really enjoying this game. I'm having a great time with it. I know that I will be replaying this game, probably several times, using different clans, seeing what different endings you can get here. And for me, I think that's always a good sign of a game like this, that if you're looking forward to kind of replaying it, taking different choices and, approaching it in different ways, then that's the sign of a good game for me. Now, is this an RPG game? Some people have said it is, some people have said it isn't. I would say it's RPG light. There are abilities to unlock that will improve your character, sort of thing. You do unlock different costumes to wear, that kind of stuff. But it's not what you would describe as like, Skyrim type RPG here. It's not that kind of RPG. It's like RPG light, but it still has elements and has a vibe and a feel for an RPG game. So, I mean, really, if you're looking for some deep RPG mechanics, you should temper your expectations, because it's, like I say, it's limited, I think, the RPG aspect of the game. So, it's hard, this one. I've seen some like middling reviews for this. But I've also seen people say, actually, this is actually quite good. And I think I've noticed the difference there. And I've noticed if people are fans of the first game and they play this, I think there's a massive level of disappointment. If you go into this kind of without that baggage, I think you're going to enjoy this more. And I don't have that baggage, so therefore I'm certainly enjoying this one a little bit more. So that's my advice to you, really, guys. If you're a massive fan of the first one, temper your expectations. If you've never played the first one and don't know anything about it, you're probably going to enjoy this as what it is, like a vampire heavy, narrative, story-driven, RPG light, cool combat type vampire game. I've had a great time with it, I have to say, and I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I just think it's kind of what I wanted. I don't feel disappointment, but it hasn't exceeded my expectations, I think is the fairest thing to say. So, yeah. Thanks for joining me, guys, for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.